There's this fascinating thing about meditation. Even when your thoughts slow to a trickle or vanish completely, something still lingers, this sense of me. But what is that? Is it real? The mind, clever and limited as it is, tries to make sense of something infinite. This awareness, we all are. It's like seeing a reflection in a mirror and thinking, that's who I am. But what if the reflection isn't the whole picture? By exploring this, questioning it, and shifting attention to the awareness that watches it all, something profound happens. You begin to see that them isn't wrong. It's just a tiny part of the story. And beyond it, a sense of freedom, peace, and your limitless self waiting to be realized. A very helpful pointer is to stop and ask, who is the mind talking to? It's such a simple question, yet its implications are profound. The voice feels intimate, as though it's addressing someone. But who exactly is on the receiving end of this endless dialogue? And why do we mistakenly take the I thought as who we are? To truly explore this question, we must first examine what we commonly take for granted, the idea of me. This feels solid and real, an entity at the core of all our experiences. It's the one who seems to think, feel, and live through life. But have you ever closely observed this sense of me? What is it really? When you look carefully, the answers may surprise you. Let's start by recognizing a simple truth. What we call life is a continuous flow of experiences, sensations, thoughts, emotions, images, and perceptions. These rise and fall within awareness like waves on an ocean. One moment, there's joy. The next, a pang of sadness. A memory of childhood surfaces, and then a thought about dinner plans. Then an itch on your arm. These are fleeting, ever-changing phenomena. Yet all of them are witnessed, known, and observed. If you pause and examine closely, you'll notice that you too are observing these waves of experiences. In fact, you are not the waves themselves. You are the one witnessing them. This witnessing is constant, unchanging, and effortless, even as the content of your experience shifts from moment to moment. You are not the thoughts, not the feelings, not even the body. You are the awareness within which these occur. Now, here's where things get fascinating. Our minds are masterful storytellers. They create an ongoing narrative, weaving together thoughts, memories, and feelings to craft an identity. This sense of self feels like a separate, solid entity. But when you closely investigate this, it begins to dissolve under scrutiny. It turns out that what we call me is not a fixed, unchanging thing. It's simply another layer of thoughts and feelings arising within the field of awareness. So when the mind talks, it creates an illusion, the illusion that it is speaking to this separate me. Thoughts arise, and then other thoughts seem to respond. A voice inside comments, analyzes, and questions, creating the impression of an inner dialogue. But here's the truth. No entity is actually sitting behind the mind, listening and replying. It's as though the mind is talking to itself in circles, trying to sustain the illusion of a conversational partner. But why does this erroneous identification happen in the first place, one might ask? We identify so strongly with the sense of I because it's deeply tied to something much more fundamental, the pure awareness of being, or the feeling of simply, I am. This sense of beingness, the quiet recognition that you exist, comes before all thoughts, ideas, or identities. It's like the foundation on which everything else is built. When we start to question this process, we can shift our attention from the mind story of I back to the pure awareness itself. Instead of identifying with the thoughts that say, I am this, or I feel that, we focus on the raw, simple knowing of being that's always there, even before any thought of I. In doing so, we begin to see the truth. The I that the mind creates is just an interpretation. Your real self is the awareness that exists beyond all ideas, all boundaries, and all identities. By observing this process and gently turning your attention to the awareness itself, you start to see through the illusion of a limited self. What remains is the pure, infinite presence of who you have always been. Let's test this idea. Right now, assume, I am not the thinker of my thoughts. I am the awareness of those thoughts. Notice how thoughts come and go. A memory pops up. Who sees it? A sensation arises. Who is aware of it? The mind may claim ownership of these thoughts and experiences, but does the witnessing itself lay any such claim? Number. The witnessing just observes. One of the mind's cleverest tricks is to claim it wants to be free of itself. It tells a story about how exhausting and endless its chatter is, how it longs for silence or peace. But even this desire, this I want to be free thought, comes from the mind. It's another mental layer. Life becomes less about control and more about flow, less about achieving and more about being. The ego, the I that the mind creates, turns out to be a master of disguise. One moment, it's a perfectionist demanding excellence. The next, it's a victim lamenting life's struggles. But ask yourself, are you all these identities? Or are you the witnessing presence within which these roles come and go? In this state, the mind's chatter loses its grip. It becomes background noise rather than a constant battle. You no longer seek to silence the mind forcefully because you see it for what it is, a collection of fleeting thoughts without a central thinker. So, who is the mind talking to? No one. It talks to itself. And you are the silent witness, beyond words and thoughts, eternal and free.